to Joshua, the only way you're going to be successful on this journey is you better meditate on my laws. You better meditate on who I am. It's not just like an obligation to read the word of God. He's like, that's where you find your strength. That's where you find your confidence. That's where you find your peace. That's where you find your bread that sustains you. That's where you find your hope. That's where you find me. You get in my word. You worship. You pray. You seek strength from me. God wasn't just telling Joshua, now you got to read the book as well. It wasn't about reading the book. It was about his source. When I heard God telling Joshua, like, I'm with you, it made me think of Abraham. Moses. It made me think of Moses when God had told Moses to go do this thing, right? And then Moses said to the Lord, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know who will send me. Who will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. This is what God said to Moses. Now therefore I pray, this is Moses, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, and that I may find grace in your sight. And consider that this nation is your people. And God said to him, and he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. I will go with you, and I will give rest for your soul. So it's not just that you're going on the journey and that you should be in a state of anxiety and fear. No, but I'm on a journey. I'm going. He's like, no, not only, Moses, am I going to go with you, but you'll find rest for your soul because my presence is with you. And the more aware you are of my presence, it eases the anxieties. It eases the fears. It eases those moments that you feel like are going to take you out. He's like, but my presence does something in that space. I really highly value communication, as you can see, but there's something that God does that I can't put into words. Like, it's something that he does inside of you when you shift your focus onto an awareness that the presence of the living God dwells in me. Like, the presence of the living God encamps around me. And it's his presence that is my strength on this journey. And there's something that happens. There's an exchange that takes place between my anxiety and God's peace. There's an exchange that takes place between my fear and this crazy confidence. Right? When the disciples became aware of the fact that Jesus actually rose from the dead and he visited them. Beforehand, Jesus had died and these cats were scared and they scattered. They were afraid and they scattered even though they was journeying with Jesus. But then they encountered him. He came and presented himself to them. And these cats became radical. I mean, they became martyrs. They were like, I believe in this gospel. There's such a confidence because I experienced Jesus. He will take the scariest, most timid, most fearful, most overwhelmed, most and he will be the most courageous, daring, because there's an exchange that takes place when you experience the living God that I can't put into words for you. You just got to experience it for yourself. And Moses was clear on that. So he said to God, yo, check it out. You don't go with me, I ain't going. Right, that's right. Moses was bold. He's like, you can give me instructions. That is great. But I am not getting up from this place and going anywhere if you don't go with me. And like he said to Joshua, I'm not just giving you instructions, I'm taking the journey with you. Yes. And I will separate you as my people, and they will know you are mine. Yes. Like, it's not even just that he goes with you, he stamps you. Like, that one, that's mine. I dare you to mess with her. Like, there's this confidence that you get where you're like, I'm with Jesus. Like, come for me. I want you to. Like, I just get this crazy boldness that is just like, I wish you would. Come for me. You know, and it's like, it wouldn't be good for you. You shouldn't do it. You know, like, I don't know. I've just seen them do too much. And not only have I seen them do too much, I've experienced him do too much. Right? But experience only comes with experience. Right? You got to take the journey. You have to. Otherwise, you can't say, I've experienced him do too much. You got to have an experience. Like, it just works like that, right? So you can read the Bible all day long. And you can come to church every Sunday. And you can do all all it is. At that point in the journey, if you at some point you got to experience him for yourself. And then like he said to Moses, and like he said to Joshua, I will never, ever give you an assignment to endure alone. I'll never give you an assignment to endure alone. His presence has gone before you and is with you, which is why God instructs Joshua in verse 9, like he did in 6 and 7. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of courage. God says, because it makes sense. I'm not just telling you to be strong and have courage. It makes sense. You know who I am? Be strong and of courage. Do not be afraid nor dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Wherever you go. Not just in the lily fields, not just in the fun places, in the depths of life. I mean, in the situations that feel like they're taking you out, God is like, I'm there. When you cry yourself all the way through the night, God says, I'm there. When you wake up in the morning and you're still crying, God says, I'm there. When you find yourself in a pit of sin, God says, I'm still there. That's why I love you. Said there's nowhere you can go where you flee my presence. My love reaches down and it goes high and it is pretty wide. I will come get you. Actually, I don't have to come get you because I'm there. I'm with you. I can pick you up out of anything. I can take you anywhere. I'm God. So he says to Joshua, have I not commanded you? Be strong and of courage. Do not be afraid nor dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I've learned on this journey that God is not telling Joshua he can't have a degree of fear. His point isn't saying, get rid of all the fear and take the journey. That's not what he's saying. He's actually acknowledging the fact that Joshua has fear. And in the midst of his fear, or the potential fear, he's saying, be courageous, right? And I've learned in my personal life, that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to do it afraid, not the absence of fear. My mentor told me one time, and it radically changed my life. She said, Liana, put fear on your back like a backpack and go. Put it on your back like a backpack and go. Because I realized that fear is not conquered in a vacuum. You can't go over here and be like, fear be gone, 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 and then go out in life and face it. The only way you conquer fear is by facing it. So it's something that diminishes as you go. So what God is telling Joshua is have enough faith that it doesn't paralyze you. The issue with fear is when you allow it to keep you from moving. And the antithesis of fear is movement. So as you move, as you go, you start to realize it doesn't make sense to be afraid. Right? But you don't know that if you don't take the journey. Because fear is telling you you can't take the journey. Fear is telling you this thing is going to take you out. Fear is telling you you're going to fail. Fear is telling you all of these things. So the only way that you know that it's a lie is when you progress in the direction. My other mentor told me, Liana, don't run from it. Run towards it. Run. The thing that's scary, run towards it. And I've learned through experience, because you got to experience God. I learned that as I went, the things that I thought would take me out didn't. But I don't know that if I don't take the next step. I don't know that if I don't move forward. So I sit in a state of what could be. Right? Because fear tells us it's definitely going to happen. But how do you know that? Right? Fear says you can't do that. It says who? Right? And so we let the lies cloud our mind. We let the enemy fill us with just enough to keep us from moving. And we have the audacity to trust him. Like we have the audacity to believe him. Like God's like, remember me, Joshua, why does that make sense? But we don't stop long enough to do that. And so I realized tonight that like the goal isn't to have this like, I'm walking out of here unafraid. That's not realistic. It doesn't happen like that. It's like fear, put it on my back like a backpack, but I'm going towards that thing. Whatever that project is that you're working on, whatever that dream is, whatever you told yourself, I'm too old for ... now. Says who? A day is like like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord. Time is nothing to him. He can do time is nothing to him. So while we're sitting over here telling ourselves we can't do what God told us to do, or God told us we can't do because we've made our list of reasons why we can't do it and it makes sense to us, God is like, so I have no say in this equation. Like, you don't know who of course it makes sense that you can't do that on your own. Yes, amen. Right? Like, and I had to realize that. So no, I don't want you to walk out here thinking I'm saying abandon fear. I am saying abandon fear. I'm saying, but the only way you abandon fear is by taking the journey. Yeah. By taking the next step. Yeah. By deciding in the face of fear, I'm still moving forward. Because courage is do it afraid.